All right, we are live. Just take her away.
Okay, call our meeting to order. Roll call today. We have Greg Peppel, Todd Shan, Jim Menton, Craig Mertens, and Pat Baumgartner. So, any other new business that anyone would like to add today for our discussion? Okay, then I think we'll go right into the discussion for the Island Hub update and discussion.
All right.
And if that works.
Yeah, Mark.
Okay.
Mark, do you want to? If you'd like to have a seat, or yeah, perfect. Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. You guys all got the hand. Okay, well, here we go. We thought we had a train shooting down the track, and we did. And then let's start with how we were going down the track. You got the diagram there, Island Hub section. Island Hub ownership. Non-profits, which we are, Island Hub Inc. is a non-profit, require a cash allocation and are not eligible for GO bonds. So it depends on how much cash the state has to give out to nonprofits versus a public entity. Okay, we have had a Senate committee tour of the school on behalf of Island Hub on 10/28/21. At that point in time, there was, the school hadn't, I don't think the bond was the first bond. So Island Hub was going to be running the whole school at that point. And then we had a House committee hearing on 4/3/23 down at the state capitol. And then we had a House committee tour completed this last October in Wilmer. And that was before the bond passed. And we completed a form. It's called the Capital Budget Project Information for Nonprofit Capital Request Completed. Capital Budget for Nonprofits. It's this form here. And submitted to the Minnesota Management and Budget Office for the governor's budget recommendation list. I don't know if we talked before that there's a couple of ways of getting in on this. Municipalities would go through the management and budget office, and that's what we did also. And that goes to the governor's list, which was published last week, Tuesday, I think. Nonprofits don't get published in that, but that's how they get listed as on his list for recommendations. And then it goes into the different, well, it goes into the two committees, House Capital Investment Committee or the Senate and Capital Investment Committee. And when I did the talk in Wilmer in October to the House committee that came out, they had 3 or 4 other communities up there also. And after I gave the presentation, Chairman Lee came over and said, you know, can you get in documentation that the school will give you ownership of that section? And I said, yep, that was the plan. It was in a memorandum of understanding. And Sandy, I've got your spot here, so.
She can go here.
Right here. You're good.
And so we got that. Jim put something together, consulting with the attorneys, and so that would give us ownership. So we had everything done, everything in. Dean, next step would be to get a bill set up and then run it through the process with the legislature. Then, and when I did that tour, it looked really good. And I think they had like 300,000 or 400,000 or $1 million in cash that they had to work with. So, I mean, the coffers were full and we were in good shape. We really wanted 2 million. That's all we were looking for, 2.06. And then the January economic and revenue forecast came out. And if you look on the next page, and then things took a tumble. So they had $2 billion in extra, and you've probably all seen this in the paper. But statutorily or structurally, in 2 years, they would use up 1.4 billion. And then the inflation on that piece was another 8 something, it's a little fuzzy, 800 million. And so they had in cash left 82 million. So that 300 Lodestar turned out to 82. And Dean stopped out a couple of weeks back and said, we got a problem. in that nonprofits can only get cash. Cash is down to 82. And he says, I need something in my back pocket if I can't get you that money. He says, they got to give me something. He should be able to, but the 82 that's got to spend the whole state for cash for nonprofit kinds of things. And so he said he would recommend that the school retain ownership of the property. I think I said everything that was in your MV. Oh, and then we had conversation. Well, he said to retain ownership of the property. Okay, so we'll get into that. We also discussed with Minnesota Management and Budget, Roger Barons and Marianne Conboy, to review all these budget or bonding proposals that come through. And they said when they saw that, they realized what the dean was saying. Dean was saying that if you can get the school to retain ownership of the property, they can apply for the GO funding, and the likelihood of getting it is so much greater. So that's where things shifted. So his plan is to continue with the nonprofit. So both tracks are going in. At least the nonprofit track is going in. And then if you decide to also retain ownership, then the school looking for the GO monies for this can also go in. And what he would plan to do is have the cash proposal go forward. And if he can't wrangle that money, then in his back pocket, he'd pull out, well, now we can go for the GO bonds. We don't need to rely on the cash. So that's what he would like to do, go cash first, but if he has to go GO bond. Now you're gonna wanna know is, okay, what are we getting ourselves into? Okay, so then on the next sheet, bold school ownership, how does that work? The school would complete a 2024 local government capital request form, which is basically the same thing as what I had to do for the nonprofits. And there's a form here, and it kind of looks like this. And I've got a sample of another school district, the Browerville School District, put in for $8 million for a gymnasium improvement. And it's the same information. School, there's a few things that they have to add, but we have a sample of what that needs to look like. And we can help with that. You're welcome to borrow anything out of our proposal to put into here, because a lot of it's going to apply through the details, what needs to be done, the construction kinds of things. Project rationale, what we're doing. I mean, we have all of that information, so we can sure help with that proposal. So that would need to go in. Now, if Dean was here, we got that far. We also had information on what happens next. And this is the one thing that would have to get in. And then if Dean were here, would tell us what the next steps were, because they deferred to him. But I can kind of lay out a bit of what. So once this was in to the management and budget and to Dean, then he would put in two bills. He put in a bill, legislative bill for the nonprofit request for monies, and he put in a bill for the school request for monies. So then looking at your next steps for school ownership. Okay, so this form goes in. He drafts the legislative bills for both scenarios. If not awarded the cash to the nonprofit, the project would still be eligible for GO bonding directed to the public entity, which would be the school district. Okay, so what happens next? Okay, did any of you get to watch those two videos that we had online from the Minnesota Management and Budget Office? Anybody?
I watched part of the first one where he was talking about the condo aspect.
Yeah, yeah, and the reason for that is because once you get bond money, there's requirements and regulations that go with that. And if you condo it, so the school would have 3/4 of the project. Island Hub has 10,000 square feet, 10,007. If you condo it, only the R section, the condo, would have to meet all of the requirements that go with getting state bond money. Just apply to that 10,700 square feet. And so you condo it so that's what happens, so that it doesn't. He said you don't want to taint the whole ocean. You want to just the part that you're going to be using that money for. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so that's why you would condo.
Yeah, as he pointed out, even if you take one penny, he said it's like poisoning the entire ocean. You have the entire facility has to become slave to all of the government
regulations, requirements, all the different kinds of things. Yeah, so to keep them out of this area, that's how you would do that. There's a cost to that. Attorney fees would have to set up the condo concept. We actually, in setting up Island Hub, had thought about a condo kind of concept, and we ended up going with the nonprofit corporation, and then we would be leasing stuff. And the original concept was to lease all the athletic stuff back to the school, because that's what the school would need. So that was kind of the rather than making a condo concept out of it. So that would need to happen. And then the next thing that would need to happen is to have an established a use agreement. And how it's worded, it's if a well, let's just do what they got. Okay. So a lease agreement for half the useful life of the building, typically a remodeled building, typically it's 25 to 35 years. So half of that life would be anywhere from 12.5, less than 12.5 to 17.5 years. That would be the most you could require the lease to be. It can be up to half. Now there's a sample in this handout of the Minnewaska Area School District. They did the very same thing, 4 million. Theirs was a bit different, but it gives you some sense of what happens there. They actually gave the Glenwood High School to the Cultural and Civic Center in Glenwood years ago. It's a beautiful building. If you go online, you can take a look at lots of programming and those kinds of things. So they ended up purchasing the whole building back so that they could get the money through the bond to improve the building. I'm guessing it was roofs and boilers and those kinds of things. And if it was that old, that's probably what they were doing, because they didn't have anything going on in that center. They might have used the gym a little bit, but then they did a use and management agreement with the Cultural Civic Center, which has been going for 20 some odd years. I mean, so they're well heeled. And like they say, no money is exchanging hands. We will just be the fiscal host for the grants and other public monies to come through for this project. And we do have that particular use and management agreement. I've got a copy of it. So we've got a lot of stuff that, it's going to be easy to just do things. It's a fairly large document, but basically they lease the, they have an agreement with the Culture and Civic Center, and they're responsible for all the repairs, all the maintenance, all the operation, the whole thing. There's not a penny of school money to worry about. And we'd be doing the very same thing, because that was the plan, that we would manage, own, and operate and own that section. And we've got the monies for it. We know what the budget is. It's $60,000 a year to manage it. We've got several things lined up already. Lutheran Social Services has established a senior site. The event center using the small gym, we'd have to make an arrangement for the school as what we do on that. But then, and to have a commercial kitchen. Lutheran Social Services are interested in that. We have a fitness center lined up. Cultural center is going to be using some spots. We've got a co-worker space. So lots of income generating things lined up and ready to go. And that was the plan, and it would be self-supporting. And the school was giving us ownership, but in this case, it decreases the chances with the cash so low. If the school retains ownership, you still have the use agreement where we're managing and taking care of it and running it, and there's no cost to the school, any repairs, any of those kinds of things we would handle. So basically that's the scenario.
So there, just for clarification.
Yep.
The original agreement where the school gave you ownership, there still had to be a use agreement for use of some of the other facilities, like you said, the large gym or the small gym for social gatherings and things. So there already was going to be some type of a use agreement or arrangement between the two entities, the school and Island Hub.
More than likely.
Yeah.
More than likely. So now we're just going to have to expand that to include use of the school still facility. What does that do for tax and insurance? If the school still owns that part of it, what's the tax and insurance consequence?
Well, it's a little different path than the original. So let me, So you're not eligible for the funds on your own because you're a nonprofit, right?
Correct.
So it has to be,
Yeah,
we're
it
not
has to be a
eligible for
public.
No,
entity.
yeah, no,
General
I understand all
obligation.
that, but now if the school retains ownership, then the school is gonna have, obviously, the tax liability is gonna be there on that 10,000 square feet,
You could do,
possibly.
a whole lease, long-term lease.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
all 100% of that.
Right.
But let me
Yeah.
thank you for all your work too, by the way, before.
Oh, no.
I don't think,
no
I mean, I
problem.
appreciate all your volunteering.
Yeah.
It's,
And here he is, the man of the hour.
uh,
All right,
Hey, Dean.
as I'm walking in here, I blew my nose, and I got a nosebleed.
Uh-oh. Amy, do you have?
Happens all the time.
I need some Kleenex.
Yeah.
right, yeah.
And Dean, so you know, you will be on camera. We are recording it.
With blood coming out of my nose.
Yeah, if you don't want to look like
We'll
you've been attacked.
go wait a second here.
And we have a restroom right here too, if you'd like.
There's a bathroom if you need to wash it.
All that too.
Hey, Jim,
Yes, Elliot.
can you let Megan in too? She's been trying to get into the call and she said she has to be let in.
Okay. Amy will have to do that.
I'll do it.
There we go.
Thank you.
Well,
Just in case the question comes up, is there a reason why like the city of Rhode Island couldn't host, our city's not eligible for the funds?
That was,
They could, they've got other, they just, they said assisted living and they've got money committed to that. They've got some bonding that they're gonna do for that.
Okay.
They're reluctant at this point.
I'll sit here a little bit
Sure, we can.
and listen to you.
The short answer, I think, on your questions on the insurance, there might be, you could put that into the lease. We are planning to pay, I mean, that's in the budget, insurance, any of those kinds of things. So any cost that you would incur by owning that property, we would be covering for our section, basically.
And is there actually there's still not a division, right? There's still some shared walls
Mhm.
in the facility
Yep.
as well.
Mm.
That,
Mhm. When would that application have to be in?
Well, Dean, I gave him a scenario of that we got 2 tracks going. The nonprofit one is, we've done all the paperwork, it's gone to the Union budget, it's gone into the governor. We've got the letter that the school would give us ownership of the property, which is what Chairman Lee wanted. And so that's able to go forward as is. And then I told him that the budget forecast trimmed that 300 or 400 million that there was down to 82. And so therein lies the problem. And your suggestion that the school retain ownership so we can go for the GO bond
And I
funding.
just wanted to bring it up.
We had 2 meetings with Roger Behrens and Marianne Convoy at Minnesota Management and Budget. And I agree with you that if the school retained ownership, the project be eligible for GO funding, which may be, allows it to move forward if the cash isn't there.
did you watch the video?
And the question was, what,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no,
Sidebar.
yeah,
You know, the first time I thought, if I were wearing a mask,
Would you like one?
I looked at it. It's happened to me once before in my life. Rather than a public meeting, my nose started to bleed. Well, let's see. See how it goes here. So, what would you like to hear from me?
I think your question was why the city didn't. I'm saying
Yeah,
the city-
just for discussion purposes, is it something better off that would fit on the city of Rhode Island or, the school district?
I guess that's a determination for you to make. I mean, I'm just concerned about, what is the entity that could make this work? And it's, 6 to 1, half a dozen the other, as far as I'm concerned. You are the ones that can best make the decision as to which entity you think should maintain ownership.
So what kind of commitment, so if the Bold School District does do it and they are successful in the funds, how long are we committed under the terms of that? So 2 years down the road, Mark says, this isn't going like we hoped. You know, we've received the money and we spent them. Does the school have any?
Until it's paid back.
Let's pay it back.
You'd have to pay it back.
So it's truly a bond, a loan. It's not
The geo fund, I thought that was,
No, we could, okay. Let's say that, we'll just throw out a number. Let's say you get $4 million from the state and the school is the entity. The school, if they chose in a couple of years that they wanted to sell it, they couldn't without paying back the money that they got. So that's how that would work.
What if they were paying rent and for whatever, something happened and they were no longer able to afford the rent? Would the school district have to pay back?
School district would own the building yet.
Right.
end
And so,
of debt.
my understanding in talking to budget and management, the requirement is that you maintain the use of the area for which the money was received, the public use of the area. So to maintain the meal site, to maintain the event center, to maintain, if Island Hub was not able to meet its obligations of the use agreement, the money is not required to be paid back as long as you maintain the use for which the money was allocated. If that makes sense.
So then the school would be maintaining the kitchen, the school would be, and offering that service or whatever, that
Yeah.
actually become
Or
part of school
Finding
operations.
another entity to use a use and agreement center with. If Island
Right,
Hub-
if you found it, yes, if you found another entity.
Right.
So
But what I'm getting is,
So
you
like
can't
St. Mary's
sell-
School or something, come use the
you can't
kitchen.
sell it
Right.
unless it's paid for.
Right.
Could
So
you
I'm
do
s-
like a contract for deed type deal? So they would pay us the amount that it would cost us a year in insurance and taxes and everything, we'd set that up kind of and do a contract for
Well,
deed.
you
So
could-
we're not owning it, but
No,
kind of we still do until they
No.
get paid.
think
You
it's
can't.
at least,
you have to be a public entity to get general obligation bonds. It has to be owned by it. Now, you can make whatever lease you want with who has the property. You can have them maintain it, pay insurance, all of those things on it. But you can't be in the process of transferring ownership or transfer ownership.
If we did that, we'd have to pay
Pay
the
it back.
bonds back.
Yes, you have to pay the bonds back.
the lease, when you figure out the user agreement here, it sounds like they take a look at what the useful life of the building is. And they take, you can't do a lease for more than approximately half of that.
Well, it's 20 years is usually the length of the bond,
Okay, but my,
that the state, pay it back.
okay, but so you wouldn't be able to, we wouldn't be able to take out a bond or a lease with them for 20 years because, this is my understanding, because the state would see that as them actually owning it. They would, even though they don't, but that's how they would interpret that. So we would only be able to do like a 10-year agreement with them.
No, I'm not positive about that.
I think that's what he said in the,
That could be, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
It says
well,
half the useful life of the building, 25 to 35 years.
That can be renewed.
yeah, you can renew it as many times as you
So what
want.
they do is, you have an agreement. So you can, after the 10 years, you can bow out of the agreement and have someone else run it. So Island Hub is put on the sideline. So you're only, we only get 10 years of able to use the facility. And then we have to hope that you're going to renew it so that we can continue that operation throughout the duration until the bond is satisfied.
So then you guys would actively be repaying that bond? Or it doesn't have to be
The bond is-
repaid?
The bond is free. It's just that you have to provide the services that you said that you're gonna do for the public use for the duration.
For the duration. So nobody's paying it back.
Unless we,
No.
if I understand it correctly, we don't have to pay back the bonds or the funds, the bond, unless we try to sell the property
Well, if you're.
or,
The use change.
Break the
or it ceases to function
with the
for
public-
whatever reason. It doesn't, it's not a public facility anymore because nobody's running it.
Yeah.
Then we'd have to pay back the bonds, correct? If I'm understanding that?
I'm not quite clear. So we're talking two things. Originally, we're talking a grant, which is a gift for you to do your project.
Yeah.
No terms, longevity, just what you commit to up front. You say, hey, we'll do this for 5-10 years.
That's the cash side.
That would be the cash side.
That's the first one you're trying to go for.
Was that correct?
Well, the same with bond too.
So bond is basically you give us the money and if we agree to those terms, we never have to pay it back.
Right.
Okay. So what is the length? Kind of goes back to my original question. What is the length of that commitment the school has to commit to?
You said there's so many years on the
Well-
bond.
The state usually takes 20 years to pay the bond back.
So we'd have to commit to operating that for 20 years or whatever that life expectancy of the project,
Yes.
or
It would have to be used for that purpose.
for that 20 years.
20, 25, 30.
And that figure is determined by the engineer or architect, what's the useful life of the renovated building. So I'm guessing Nexus Solution would have to give you a fee, then that's the length of time that you'd have to continue with that use to satisfy the bond requirements.
Okay. So,
So if they came back with a document that says this building is now gonna be useful for 27 years, then we'd have to operate that public entity for 27 years, either through Island Hub or another leasing.
Yeah,
Otherwise, we'd have to pay some portion of the bond back, is what we're saying, if we don't do that commitment.
Is that portion
Sounds great.
prorated on the years that you
does
could?
that sound correct to you, that explanation?
Yes.
Okay.
So if it's say in 10 years, it ceases to be used for the purpose that you're intending it to, is that payback prorated, Dean? Or does it have to all be paid back? We fulfilled half of it. Is it, we pay
I'm not
half
sure,
back?
but I tell you what, make a phone call here.
You know what I mean?
Some of the-
Absolutely. That's what I asked what our
See,
original
it's two
commitment is,
different-
even though
it's
it's
two
based
different-
on 20.
What he's saying,
So
it's
this-
two different things.
Okay.
Is that this is a useful life of the building that the
Right.
state's gonna say it needs to be functioning for, otherwise you gotta pay money back.
Right,
This is the length of the agreement that we have to write with Island Hub.
for half of that.
Well, no, because they gotta commit up to running it for half, and that's what our lease will tell them. So, and then they wanna, obviously they'll wanna re-up. We can't do it for more than that, for whatever reason. We can only do half and then have to re-up it. The only way that could be a function is, let's say, Island Hub's doing a great job, but now we've got, Bill comes in and Bill's saying that, I want to do this because I see that I can, there can be a public thing or whatever, I want to run it, and I'm going to give the school an extra $500 to let me do it because it's good for what I want to do for my own little
Mhm.
aspect. So now the school's going to make $500 a month with the new lessee, and he's still doing all the same function of the Island Hub. I mean, that,
Can't.
we could
Yeah,
do
we
something
can't-
like
School
that.
can't make any money.
Right.
Well, true, I guess.
We can't make any money.
I just don't know what our commitment is, because sometimes those state programs, it's even though it's a 20, 25 year, it could be as long as you operate for 5 years, you don't have to pay the funds back, or 10 years,
Yeah.
but 25 years,
That's a
It's
long
scary.
time,
Yeah.
those are-
Mhm.
'cause you never know if the building's gonna hold off that much.
While Dean's on the phone, I'll just, Gene Wenstrom wrote me today. And this is what he said. I was in Glenwood last night and had a chance to visit with Chad Barnesness, who is the chair of the Minnewaska School District. He mentioned they are working with a daycare to provide space for the daycare in a school they closed about 20 years ago. The school is in Starbuck, and the district considered abandoning the building but decided to keep it. Over the years, they established an alternative learning center for their students, rented the space to businesses, and now the daycare. I guess my point is that there would be many advantages to Bold keeping ownership of the Bird Island School. good luck with your meeting tonight. I don't know, I wish you would tell us some of those advantages maybe, but
Aren't they doing that over at Daniel?
But
Did it at Daniel
Yeah, they
School?
have a
Did it
daycare
Daniel
over there.
School as a daycare?
do they, does
Who
Daniel
owns
still
it?
own that?
I,
Or
I
RCW
think
still own
they
that?
sold it for a
I
dollar,
think
didn't they?
the city owns that.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
I believe the
that-
city
Okay,
owns
city
it.
owns it, okay.
We have a daycare in Rhode Island already. So we don't, I don't.
No,
see-
that-
No, but I'm just saying that,
Other
just
users
wondering if
can-
that was.
It's that as an option, using for a daycare, that wouldn't, because we have a daycare in Brown.
Right, and I think,
Weren't wanting it.
let me read Jackie's comment here.
They did.
Daycare.
They did.
Because Jackie kind of is speaking the other, kind of what you just said, I think. Jackie says, as much as I appreciate the work of the Island Hub and all they stand for, I'm struggling to agree with the school owning that portion and leasing it back to the Island Hub. It's not because I don't believe in their efforts. It comes back to how we presented that to the community during the referendum. It was clearly identified as two separate projects, and if the school chooses to own and then lease back to the Island Hub, I feel we begin to lose the trust of the community before we even start a renovation project. Unless I'm not completely understanding the ask from the video Mark shared. I just felt I needed to share this.
Well, I see where she's coming from, but I don't see that personally as a problem because we presented that the Island Hub funds would not be part of the referendum. We never stated what the school was gonna be doing and how it was gonna be structured. We just basically said, we're not renovating any part of that school. That's gonna be done with Island Hub. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Whether we sold it to them or leased it to them, I don't think was ever brought up in any of the discussions. It's just that there's no referendum funds that is gonna be part of taxpayer money, directly for the Island Hub, and I think that's
Through the
still is true.
referendum.
What?
Through the
Okay, I've
referendum.
got a
Correct.
report now.
All right, great.
I talked to the nonpartisan staff person, who is the, forgive this thing. So we're getting better though,
You're
at
fine.
stopping it.
I have them all
I
the
talked
time.
to our nonpartisan expert on bonding. And he says, I thought, if you take money, it's, without paying it back, it's yours forever. You can't ever get rid of it. Unless, well, there's a little caveat there, beyond the useful life of whatever it is. I mean, a school, the useful life, you could have another 30 years or whatever. So, and there's no installment payback or anything. It's, if you do this and decide that you don't want it, you're on the hook. You
Is it
either have to
prorated
pay
or-
back the whole amount or just keep it for 30 years.
Oh, so it's the whole amount, it's not prorated.
Right.
So it does go to whatever they determine that life expectancy would be.
Yep.
Okay.
Now,
So we would have to pay back $2 million.
yeah, whatever you get.
Anytime within the next 25 years, if we shut that facility, we shut it down from being a public use.
No,
Now, it doesn't have to do anything. I suppose it can sit there. We own it for 25, 30 years and it's open. If something happens, we don't have nobody's in there, nothing's happening.
But we're
You
maintaining
make
it.
the Taxes,
Yeah, you've got the right to pay the
pay
taxes,
pay
yeah.
the taxes and
But
the
other than that,
electrical on it.
but again, you can, in the lease to whoever is operating this, you can set up all kinds of stipulations on what they have to pay and
So can it be used for school activities if Island Hub dissolves or goes away? Can it be used, go back to school activity use
good.
and we don't have to pay it back?
No, we gotta pay it back. That's,
It's gotta be
don't give the state
public.
too much credit.
That's
It's
public.
gotta follow the same operating parameters that we got the money for.
You'd have to keep that kitchen in there. You'd have to keep,
it's whatever's in the bill.
you'd have to keep renting the space to RCC.
The functionality would have to be
For
exactly
that.
what it was.
So you want the functionality description to be huge, so everything's covered.
Yeah, pretty much.
If,
Now, cash is easier.
We'd rather have
in
cash.
terms of dealing with this. But it's harder because I don't think we're gonna have much cash. The governor has, what was it, 28 million in his bill. And that's gonna get sucked up pretty fast.
Out of the general.
General
20
fund. Cash comes out of the general fund.
So the $2.4 billion surplus got sucked up pretty quick, huh?
It's already gone.
Well,
Well, I
they're
mean,
just not, it's not gone.
It's
It's still,
committed.
it's committed
That's what
to,
I mean.
Yeah.
That meant something.
And then,
We could be operating the deficit next plan.
So
So,
I'm trying to understand, like, this bond money, if they want us to go for it for them, or?
So, yes,
I'm not
so-
quite,
so-
I'm not quite up to par, or up to,
you have to be a state agency in order to receive the general obligation
you have to
fund.
be a public entity.
right,
A town, a
Yes.
school district,
can't be
The
a
State
private, can't be a nonprofit.
right, but if we get this so-called bond, it's ours, not theirs, it's ours.
Yeah.
And we can do with it what we want to do with it to
No.
fix that school and do what we
No.
need to do over there.
No, we have to do exactly what their project
Right.
says, yeah.
Right, but I mean,
And only in their area.
only in that
Yep.
area.
Yeah, they
Wow.
cannot spend a penny.
Well, no, technically, of course,
Whatever
you
you want to
could
give 'em.
get bonds, bonded money, and you could make repairs or do whatever you wanted to do, because that's, the school district is gonna use it.
Right. Well, I'm just kind of thinking here out loud with everything else. If, and I'm not exactly sure everything that they've got in on that, but if we're doing this we got the referendum money and all that, we're gonna do something with the school here. And we don't have a lot of place for the kids, can we fix that one up with that money to do with what they want, but don't let them take ownership until we're done using it for the,
The
kids.
problem with that is that before we would accept those funds, this Roger Berenson, oh, okay. His name must have been cut off on the YouTube. or
I've
the-
cut them off a few times too.
Yeah, okay. Before we would accept those funds, they said to keep from polluting the whole ocean, he would separate into two condos. Condo one, we'll say is ours, what we're operating. Condo two would be the island hub. And we would accept it and it would all go to that. And as he said in the video, that they wouldn't care what the school district did at that point with the first condo. He said we could make a amusement park there or something, put a circus there, and the state would be fine with it. But if we don't separate that, then the state, everything is, I forget how he put it. But
To follow all the regs.
we would have to follow all of the state regs. And that,
We
I
don't
would-
usually do bonding for school districts because they have the power to do their own.
But so in order to make this happen, we would have already had to split. And so we wouldn't, I don't think we'd be able to do that.
Does it follow the same, maybe this will be it, because I'm on the snowmobile club and we get grant and aid money from the state. And if we go out and ask for additional money from the state to buy like a groomer, essentially the state owns a groomer and we have to maintain that groomer until the useful life that comes out. We can't sell it, we can't do anything other than use that groomer. And if we try to sell it, what's that?
I know you're just giving an example.
Yeah.
But we can't bond for those types of things.
Right, but what I'm saying, so in this particular case, I think what he's getting at is that if we take those funds and we use them to buy something in the school and it's document for that, well, now that thing that we bought is now under
Yes.
If we ever try to sell it, we actually have to pay back the money that went into it or whatever it is, because it's not our control anymore.
Right.
That's why they want to separate it.
Right.
Which I get that, but what I'm just thinking, like, keep doing what you're gonna do. You're gonna use that money, and I don't have time to read all this, but take the money and you're gonna tear off that one section, have your commercial kitchen, which you need in the school anyway. They're gonna put rooms, right? There's gonna be rooms in there.
But the
Different-
problem with that, Sandy, is that stuff's not gonna get done until we start. That stuff's not
Oh,
gonna
because
get
I was
done.
thinking if we could get that money,
It would
then we
be.
could get that going.
But
And then
that
if
will-
we need
that
the extra
project will be
space
done
here,
later.
Just
than-
put them
yeah.
over there. Oh, golly.
The short answer is yes, we could do that, but it's not gonna work on a scheduling
No,
basis.
it's not.
Not the scheduling basis that's set up right now.
Okay.
Why won't the
And
city
it's-
of Bear Island back this? Or why won't they involve it?
Well, the assisted living, they got like, how many, 600?
700 something.
I would think this is gonna benefit the city more than us.
Well, it's gonna benefit the town of Bird Island.
Correct. Which is a city.
And
And their surrounding community.
it does, it's a use of that property as an asset to Bird Island. Yeah, it's a city proper, use enhancement. The school district, having part of the building, having us there creates some diversity for the school. I'm looking at, if we can get that videography class going again. If we have the commercial kitchen in there, we have an event center. We can start an event center curriculum, training people to be event managers. There's opportunities for the school to use that area more in call it the trades, or call it in career opportunity kinds of things that could be evolved and developed. There's co-worker space envisioned in that area. There's culinary kinds of things that could come about. And that's what Gene was kind of saying, is there could be lots of other things down the road that it might benefit the school to suggest. There is on the island board, there is a school board member, and Todd is the member. So, and that was the original idea with Island Hub, that anybody that was part of that building would have representation on the board for the use of the building. Like I said, originally it was going to be a lease to the school. Well, that kind of all got turned different when you decided to use part of it for school functioning.
Are there any city council people here
I don't think so.
from Rhode Island?
No.
Okay, I mean, first thing you have to decide is who the public entity is going to be. A lot of things stem from that. And then, I can't remember, how much, is it 2 million?
2.06, yeah, 2 million.
2 million?
Yeah.
I mean, you also could stage it. You do a million at a time, let's say. If you wanted to.
In different bonding years then, or what?
What?
Would that be so 1 million this year and then come back to the legislature for another million? Is that what you mean by
Yes,
staging?
Yes. I mean, if you were going to have different uses for, the building, maybe the school wants to continue to maintain part of it. And the other entities, another part of it. We're just throwing it out as a possibility.
Do each of these get written up as their own separate bill, Dean? Each ask like this is its own separate bill, or how does that?
Each what?
Each ask like this for that school project, each one has its own bill.
So we wouldn't they wouldn't be guaranteed to get that second.
Say that again?
There's no guarantee that if we got the first million,
No.
Right.
I mean,
So
you-
when you put in that bill, you could include everything, like you're including that you'd use the center
In the bill,
for.
you put in what it's gonna be used for. Now, it doesn't have to be really specific.
Right.
You know, I can use some general terminology as well. But you know, that's what, okay, have you guys done, you know, design and pre-design on the building as to what you want to do?
Right, we're working on that now.
Okay, because a lot of the bills start that way. Or we,
Are you talking the Highland Hub building specifically?
yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
because that's what we're talking about.
Yes, yeah. that's what-
Sorry.
There's a, in the proposal, we put in,
Yeah.
so the it's 2.056. So 136, and these are numbers that Nexus came up with. I think it was him now. Jones?
Brent,
Brent, he did the budget. He came out with what the cost would be. And so the design phase will be 136,000. The project management stage our cost will be 45,000, and the construction cost will be 1,706,000. Well, there's 169 other. I'm not sure what's in that. It probably says in here someplace, for a total of 2.06 million. So, and then from your bond, you've got 6 million going into the Rhode Island School.
The other part of it, yeah.
Yeah, the other part of it, and their pre-design is 285,000, design is 375,000. Project management is an amount, and construction, 5,260,000 for all the things that you're planning to do on your section of the Rhode Island School.
see, right now, we have a bill. It's been introduced, Jack did and all that. But it isn't exactly, you know, it may not be exactly what you want. Now, you know, that's, you know, partly, I think, what we're talking about tonight, but I could change that at any time. I can do an amendment. The bill that finally happens, you may never see until the end. I will have been talking to you about it and such, but it might never be a published bill again as such, because I can amend it.
So negotiate.
So those things that you want to change or need, I can still try to get put in. So what I'm telling you is don't get caught up by deadlines. In reality, the deadline is the last day of session for bonding. We like to do things earlier, and I'd like to have this, you know, put in order as soon as possible. It makes it somewhat easier for me. But again, the first thing is decide, okay, who is going to be the public entity? What is it going to be used for? You know, what part is the school going to maintain using some part of it, and if so, what? And you know, we can divvy up the money somewhat in that way.
Well, I think you just touched on it. If that description in the bill could include end school activities, to me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, you take the money, if they don't utilize all of it, need all of it, if nothing else, the school has a facility that we can use for whatever down the road, and we're only out sitting there.
So,
Yeah, and if we can't
Well,
rent it
so
out or
would-
cover
would
the
we-
cost, at least the school
if
has
the Island Hub,
fixed up.
for whatever reason, ceased to exist, would the school district then be able to rent it to another entity and make money off of it?
Yes.
You would.
Not make money, to cover your costs is all right.
Only cover costs?
No,
Because according to Roger, we can't make any profit at all. We can charge for utilities, repairs, those can be passed on to the renter, but
Administration.
we can't make anything more than that. But if we were to become the lessor and in essence, the lessee, would we then be able to make some money off of this or not? I think we better find that out.
Yeah, that's kind of a tricky, this is a whole, first of all, school districts, as I said before, getting bonds, it happens, but not very often. So this is a bit of an exceptional case here, what we're talking about doing. And now that making money off it, I'd have to,
I don't think we should look at it that way to try to make money at all.
My understanding, and I'm trying to sort that through myself, the costs, the operating and management costs for that to make it viable and to make it go, whatever those costs are, the school, if the school is picking up some of those costs, the school can bill or lease for those kinds of things. Say we shared the, and we would, I mean, if the insurance, if the school has the insurance on the building, and it makes sense for us to pay that, our portion of it, then we would be paying our portion unless, if that's cheaper than us going out and getting our own. We got our own condo, so, you know, here we go. But the school can only charge for the amount that's out of your pocket coming back to you. And I don't believe you could be getting more than what it's costing to operate that facility.
I know
I
that
wanna-
you can cover your expenses.
I wanna switch gears here a little bit and look at the positive of us owning it. And strictly from a construction standpoint, this is a question for you, Ellie or Megan. Is there synergy if, now that if we own the facility, we get the money, we're distributing the funds, are there synergies to be gained to do both constructions at one project with the same project management team, the same contractors are there, you know, instead of like where they had all of their own individual budgets for project management and things like that? Can this be lumped in more of a synergistic basis? So instead of it being 8.6 million or whatever the funds we have out there between the two entities, it's maybe, you know, 8 million or 7.9. We save $400,000 because we're doing them together. Is there synergy along that way if we're the same owner doing the work?
Of course, you own
There
it.
definitely is synergies, but the problem is the design committee, you know, it's already in process. Like, I don't know that we'd be ready to like bid everything out and do it at the same time. That's my fear at this point.
My understanding when we went forward with this was there was no point in ourselves hiring an architect and a construction manager with Nexus Solution already working on the project as a whole.
Okay, so
And-
that's where the synergy was. Okay.
Yeah, and Brent, he said, well, you know, the costs for me to get you these diagrams and to go forward, that's pro bono. But the cost that we have when we actually designing that project, so they built some designing money in that 2 million that we're getting and some management monies that's gonna go to Nexus as to get the portion that's being dedicated to Island Hub. So, yeah, I think you're right in saying that that's already being done. Nexus is working on both projects, yeah.
Okay, well, I was just curious.
That was
as
a
to
good question.
So when would we know if this money is available from the bond? When's that, I mean, what is that date tentatively?
Well, the third weekend in May,
Okay,
the Monday following the third weekend in May. I don't remember the date.
okay.
I know when we started, February 12th.
So another thing that a point that Roger brought up was that, you know, before we did this, we would wait until we found out that we got the bond. But he said then we would have an attorney put together the condo agreement. And he did say that was going to be between $20,000 to $40,000. Do you pay for that? Who pays for that?
Yeah,
you can pay for it out of the bonds. I mean, I just did a project for Litchfield, and they got $2 million. It's to do fixing the building facades in the historic district in downtown Litchfield. And they get, of the 2 million, 4% for administrative cost. So now you could ask for money in the bond for administrative cost.
Do you think that if you change the wording on the bill to include school activities, would matter on acceptance?
In terms of what?
So what
The
we're gonna,
building can be used for school activities?
correct,
That can be part of it.
because I mean, to me, then it's a no-brainer. If it doesn't work out what he's doing, the school has
Mhm.
got has a $2 million structure for free.
Right.
That's a good point.
And I guess that's, you know, and I think that's what it all comes down to, is I think we need to look at the benefits as to what's getting. I mean, we're getting the whole site over there rebuilt
Mhm.
for basically getting a $2 million discount to do the whole thing. If you think about it, other than this, we're still tearing down, putting a parking lot. I mean, that was all part of the plan anyways.
I guess my only concern at that point would be, I hate to bring up
Like the water.
but, well, now we've gotta be maintaining that, and we really don't have the manpower to maintain it right now as it is,
Well, then we maintain it.
and,
I mean, that's what
well,
we're supposed to do.
right, I'm saying if something happened.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That it came back to us. But, and it's not massive, but it's still more cost to us, so.
But it would be
So-
separate from the school at that point,
If
right?
it came back to us, though.
You're saying if we bow it out for some reason. or
You're
whatever.
saying, Jim, if for the maintenance of what type of maintenance? Just the facility in
Just
general?
keeping it clean, keeping it,
Of course, if we're not
What-
using it, there really isn't much.
probably not.
You mentioned, Dean,
But
about
then we
the
have to pay
possibility
back
of
the
the $1 million could be split up
Sits there till
over
it's up and
a couple of
expired.
years, potentially.
We don't have to pay.
Is there a potential that, you know, Bird Island's, the city of Bird Island isn't interested in looking at the full amount, but what if we each covered half of the amount?
Yeah, we work together. I mean, we have two public entities.
Basically have an agreement between Bird Island and Bold. And if that did fall through, they would be
Actually,
responsible
the
for
city of
the.
Litchfield
For half of it.
and
Yeah,
And if they bowed out, would the city pick up the maintenance portion?
Or would they want to run it if they like the activity that's going on?
Correct.
it's not uncommon to do something like that. Again, the city of Litchfield and the Litchfield School District have partnered on the wellness center that is going to be constructed there. So, I mean, you can form a partnership.
Good idea. And we're all community again.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mark, do you want to talk to them and see if the city would be willing to do something?
So Dean, if you had a partnership, who would own what? Or,
That's what you decide.
You'd probably have to still go through one entity with a side agreement with the other entity to cover half the
Mhm.
costs, I would think.
Can we do the pool?
I suppose joint.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to take ownership because then we'd have.
The
to
school
pay
would
back.
still own, take
Yeah, the
ownership,
school would
just
have
that
to-
you're having a split lease with the city and with Rhode Island, right?
Right. Almost like they're,
But they're both gonna,
almost like they're kind of guaranteeing Mark's project almost to half of his
Well,
project.
you can look at it this way from the city. A selling point is that now they're basically buying a guarantee that we're gonna have an operating facility in Bird Island, which is one of the complaints when the school was shut down in the first place. Now they're gonna have a whole operating center that they got, essentially could have part control over, part,
but they're
going all
gonna,
the way through it, so they know it's gonna be there for 25 to 35 years.
we're both gonna have to fill out an application, one per million, each for $1 million.
If you did that, or
Maybe.
one entity does it with a side agreement with the other entity to cover half of it. I don't know what would be easier.
Don't they kind of have that with the pool?
Um,
The pool's kind
Ours.
The pool
Oh,
is
it's joint?
Jointly owned.
okay,
And
How does
has
that-
been since day one.
okay.
How does that work?
The pool put up half the money as it was being built, as well as the school district, even though it's attached to the school district. And that happened before I moved to town, so I can only tell you the bullet points.
So Dean, who would get that 2 million in bond money that's needed then? Would that goes to both public entities or how does that work?
I think if you had formed a partnership, I think it could go to both. I mean, what was going to happen in Litchfield is they were going to build a wellness center off the south end of the building with a swimming pool. The school was going to operate the swimming pool and be responsible for everything having to do with that, and the rest of it, the city. But the school would also have use of it. But the school could not pass the referendum to do the swimming pool. And so it looks like they're gonna move the wellness center across the street to the civic arena, the hockey arena. So that agreement kind of fell apart, but they're still working together,
But they would have got bond money to do that?
yes.
And the bond money would have, so the use agreement, the school wanted the pool. And
The school was gonna pay for the pool with their own bonding referendum,
with their own, and then the city was gonna do the wellness center with their,
with theirs, and then they would be connected. But plan isn't working out that way.
was that two bills going in then, the school for half and the city for half, or was it one bill?
Well, no, it was one bill dealing with the wellness center, but the other part of the partnership was the school would do the pool, but it's not going to happen.
Oh, so the school wasn't getting bonding money,
No.
they were gonna get their
They were
Alright.
funding the pool
They were funding the pool.
directly.
directly,
But, I
okay.
guess there are a lot of things that you need to iron out, obviously. You got a little bit of time to do it. I do not take till the third weekend in May to figure it out, though. I mean, the sooner the better for me to try to get this moving. But that said, let me just explain. I do the best I can to get requests from, my district answered. But it's, nothing's a sure thing here. And you have, your own competition for bonding dollars. I've got a $9 million request for the wellness center here in Olivia. And $2 million here, $1 million for GFW because they've got some schools. So it wouldn't be hard to get to like $15 million just here. And it's not always easy to do that. But I keep in mind that I've got Maynard and Litchfield and Sacred Heart, and there's a lot of requests. And I've got to try to figure out a way to do as much as I can for as many as I can. I have a little more sway than most legislators do because of being the lead on the committee. But it's still nothing guaranteed.
So is the application better from a visual perspective or review perspective from your committee if it involves a town? Or is it better with a town and a school or with a school? I guess,
I think as many people as you can cite being impacted, the better. One of the first selling points of a bonding project is its regional impact. And so you have to stress that, it's not just Bird Island, it's not, it's the surrounding area that's impacted by this. I got a call just last week from someone about the wellness center here in Olivia, and, it's the whole county that's gonna be impacted, they're saying, so. That's their selling point. So I'll do the best I can.
I know that,
No movie revenue to cover this deal?
What?
No movie revenue?
No movie revenue.
No.
I wish. But since you mentioned that, I don't, I have not realized any money at all from the movies. These are low budget and we're making them to entertain and educate people.
Yeah, it's good. It's
And
good.
you seen it?
I have my sister and brother-in-law rent it.
Pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, really good.
We've got another one coming out in a
I don't know
couple
what you're
weeks.
talking about.
Yeah, what
Really?
movie is this?
I make movies, for those that didn't know that.
He's got books published.
I did not.
Historian.
I write books
I read
and
books.
we started to make movies about my books. And again, it's a low budget. We don't pay people other than, we had, in Uprising, we had 3 hired actors and they got $1,000 each. We made that movie for $65,000. And I'm not making any money. It'd be nice, but that's not why I'm doing it.
I get it.
So where do we see them?
Well, you could go to Xumo, XUMO. It's a free streaming platform, XUMO. If you get a smart TV, you can find it and look for Uprising. And there's 2 Uprisings. You want the one that's the guy's got a mask over his face. And it's about Indian wars, not the Holocaust. Again, we just finished up Assault on Fort Ridgely. And I hope to see the pre-screen version this weekend, and then that'll go out for streaming. So thank you for the commercial message, and
Yeah. I think we've still got some work to do on this here. I know Ellie's got about 5 minutes before she has to leave here.
Okay.
Okay,
So thank you, Dean. Appreciate you
Thank you.
coming down and all you do for us. So,
sorry about bloody nose.
yeah, we've forgotten about it. All right.
So yeah, I think we'll have some questions. Maybe we'll give those to Mark and if he could, relay those. But I think one thing I'd really like to see is the terms of those agreements. If it is successful, what would the terms of that be? Obviously, I think is.
And don't hesitate to get in touch with me if you've got questions or ideas, or, I'm certainly open to, trying to help you put together a bill that, hopefully we can get through.
And I can vouch that he answers his own emails, so. All right, let's go.
I do.
Can we move gears?
Sure.
Ellie, since you've got to take off, do you want to start us off about how we're doing, but from your point of view?
Megan would be way better at that since she's at the design meetings, but, I think overall, everything from what I've been told, Megan, please correct me if I'm wrong, it's been going really, really well. I think getting close to setting up the user groups, which is kind of fun, so, as far as on my part, it's all going well. Do you want to add to that, Megan?
I think the only thing is we're planning kind of early April. We would like to do a 50% presentation to you guys, the facilities committee. And then kind of get your blessing before we present to the school board shortly thereafter. And then, yeah, we're gonna start, and the user groups are gonna be pretty integral to that. So we're gonna try to knock those out here in February and March so that we're able to really get a handle on the drawings and what everything's gonna end up looking like.
And Ellie and Megan, feel free to contact me if you have thoughts or ideas or questions too.
Will do, thank you.
Yeah, so I'll throw in here in case you weren't watching the board meeting on Monday. We did sell our bond, and I'll reiterate Ryan's comments. He was very impressed by Amy. She did a fantastic job. She was super prepared for the meeting, was able to answer all of their questions. And that on top of our excellent credit rating, it was an underlying A rating with a AAA Standard & Poor's enhancement. So we ended up having 11 bidders, which is very good. The true interest cost of the loan of the bond is going to be 4.12%. And so our tax calculator had been at 4.5%. So we came in a little under that. It's not going to be a huge change, but it's still nice that it wasn't over that. I was very happy about that. The group that bought it is called, I think it's pronounced Mesro Financial, MESIRO. And they were chosen. All of these companies that are vying for our bond, they offer a premium, and a premium back to us, which is essentially them saying, instead of making all of the interest on this, we're going to give some of it back to you, so you choose us. And they ended up winning by giving us back $4,363,914.95. For those of you who are writing, $4,363,914, and don't forget the 95 cents.
So the 4.12% takes into account us receiving those funds back?
I do not. Yes, Amy's nodding yes. Okay.
All right. So the bond rate will actually look like 4.6, 4.7?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay,
It'll be a little bit higher, but yeah.
all right.
Let's see, these, yeah, so we'll be using those to pay project costs, including insurance costs. We got the $399,000 check, right?
We was deposited in our account.
So that's deposited for good faith. The rest of this will close on February 21st of 24. Yeah, so that's from Ryan. They've been fantastic to work with. I'm happy with them. So we're looking at scheduling some things to get done already here this summer. Looking at our track, looking at playground out here, and gym floors Megan, you want to? I'm not exactly positive on which gym floors we're talking about this summer.
Sure. So we're gonna end up doing new wood floors in both of the gyms at Bird Island. We are going to put on hold the gym floor in the small gym at Olivia, only because we're gonna be using that space for storage during the rest of the construction process, and we obviously don't want to store stuff on a brand new floor. So the summer work will include only the two gyms at Bird Island at this time.
And I think it's the big gym at Olivia that's getting done, isn't it? Not the little gym.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the little gym.
No, I think all that's happening in the little gym is the bleachers. I believe.
Just the bleachers. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a fairly new floor.
Okay, well, then it's the other gym. Sorry about that.
No, I just wanted to clarify.
Thanks, Ellie.
What else?
I have to
Yes,
jump
so
off.
which
If there's
gym floors?
anything crucial, just text
Bird
me.
Both.
Randy here, just a couple questions. So we need to make sure we have our roof issues resolved, obviously, in Bird Island. before we do any gym floors. So do we have a plan in place or where I know the roofs and some of those are kind of ours outside of your scope. However, especially the small gym in Bird Island, with that being adjacent to the part that we're demolishing, does not seem like a good plan. Or am I missing something here? We certainly wouldn't want to do the small gym at Bird Island because it's leaking bad. It's adjacent to the portion that we're going to be removing. We know we'll have some demolition issues in that area. You know, quite frankly, we could have some severe demolition issues. It's a little tricky to take down the old part without causing some damage, so.
Let us check into that, Randy.
Yeah, we definitely need to look at the roof before we do a floor, because it's already leaked. We don't
They're
want to
flat
put a new
roofs.
floor and then it's leaked.
Pretty much flat, yeah.
The roof is flat. Like pitch.
So I really wouldn't want to do anything in the small gym until all of our demo work is done. The large gym, I feel we could do, but we need to, and I know that's on us. I believe that's out of your scope, correct, on Nexus? So if that's all,
No, I've got the roofing, for both the main gym and the small gym with East Gully on the exterior deferred maintenance that got approved under the referendum. And it's a 12-year, roof warranty with maintenance. And I believe the
It's the
gentleman
Fortis one.
Yeah, the Fortis one. And I believe the gentleman was out this Monday and met with Denny and took a look at the roof. So, those items should be happening so that we can replace those floors and not have to worry about them.
okay. So the large gym, that would be acceptable on, but the small gym would be a mistake to touch that thing until all the demolition work is done.
Okay.
Let us look into that.
Yep, we can definitely do that.
I have to jump off. Text me if you guys have any questions. I'll-
Thanks, Ellie.
Thank you.
See you.
All right.
I apologize, I have to step out too.
All right, thanks, Greg.
So still gets back to the original question I had in one of the early design meetings is what can we tear down basically everything over at Bird Island with the exception of what, like, let's say we can tear everything down, but we need to keep the island hub sealed. You know what I mean?
Yep.
As it comes through here, is there a way to take all this stuff down? Because I think that would be for what we consider we like to call show steel. Somebody can see, hey, you're doing
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
Something's going on. And so can we take, especially like this area down, so then we can start working on
I
it?
think their argument with that is if the island hub thing doesn't go through, it's gonna cost us more to take the other rest down unless we waited and it didn't go through and we did it all at once.
Trying to be careful to save a portion versus ripping
Taking
out.
it all out.
Well, but what we're talking about, but we're not concerned about punching a hole in that roof.
No,
It
we
doesn't
are.
make sense to me.
we are.
But what I'm saying is we can be concerned all we want. It's the inevitable when you're up that high and you're pulling bricks down, you're gonna have stuff falling on that roof.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen.
Yep.
And that's just what we're talking. I just don't think that's smart construction. And so then let's just take the top 2 floors off, or, you know what I mean? If we're gonna do that,
Right,
we
but-
should get that removed.
But we want to find out first, before we do that, if the Island Hub project's gonna go forward or not. And we should know that by
May.
May. End of May?
Right.
Everybody said.
But there'll be progress along the way. It's not, I shouldn't say, things that way just happening at the end, but you should know some things beforehand.
But I guess my point is that we should be prepared for that audible.
Sure.
Absolutely, have it been quoted, so we
Have it all ready to go and say, we're gonna do this if this happens.
And either way, the contractors will still get a portion of it, so they'll still be anxious to come bid. It's not,
Yes, exactly.
right?
But if we could get Bird Island in a portion of it, that's gonna guarantee us more, right?
No,
If-
what do you mean, more what?
Well, on this other deal they were talking about, like if Bird Island the city of Rhode Island has a piece of that pie.
Won't
And pays for
guarantee
some
us
of it.
anything. It's not gonna guarantee us any money.
No, but
Take some of our liability away.
I think what it comes down to is in that whole grand scheme of things, it's gonna take a phone call of, like you say, is Rhode Island interested in being involved in this? Do they want to have a say in how that island hub is ran for the next 30 years? You know, do they want to get involved? That's really a question they have to answer, you know. From the town, you have a chance to be involved in something that we believe will help your community.
And Mark,
And so, do you want to be part of it? It's not gonna cost you anything other than a commitment with us for the next 25 years. We're willing to commit to it. Are you willing to commit to it?
right,
Help us out.
otherwise we're standing alone on an island,
Yeah.
hoping that it's gonna last forever. And then we don't, there's no guarantees for us.
right,
But if the city gets involved, they say yes, you know, maybe their part of it would be, we will be willing to step in if something happens to Island Hub Group. The city would step in and take over the
That part.
management of it or something like that.
Sure.
do we still have someone on?
Yep, yeah, we still have Megan on.
Sorry,
there.
Megan, we got sidetracked. Any-
That's okay.
Anything else on the new, back to just the school portion that we'd like to discuss? Megan, anything you have or anybody here have questions on that? I think we're all on the design committee here as well, so I suppose we
Yeah, that's
have a
good
little
point.
bit of a heads up on where we're at, so, but. So Megan, do you have anything
I
else
don't
you'd
have,
like to add? No?
no,
Okay.
I have nothing unless you guys have questions.
I apologize for not having you guys go first. Sorry. All right, anything else?
Let's see, I'm gonna dig out my agenda again. What was left on our
Oh,
agenda?
there's more paper over
All
there.
right, okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Any other questions, concerns, thoughts on the facilities before we adjourn?
So just the marching order is, who's gonna contact the city of Rhode Island? You're gonna,
Yeah, I'll explore getting that availability in, which would, because, potentially, and I think it'd be a way to work it in there because we had intended to be kind of multifunctional, senior-friendly, kid-friendly, adult-friendly kind of an environment. Teaching, training, those kinds of things. And as much as we can create career experiences we want to, and that sounds like school availability to me. So if we kind of tie it into that concept that the school would be, having students do this, that, and the other thing, I think that would lend itself well to, then you have a footprint and a use and a public use that would lend itself to if down the road something does happen, that you would rightfully be able to point back to that, we have a vested interest, and we've had our hands involved and those kinds of things. I think that would work well, so.
Keep it short and simple, school activities,
Yeah.
if Dean thinks that's.
Less is
Don't
more.
have too much detail.
Yeah, I was just pushing it out, that, I think it holds well. And then if the city wants to or not, we have, let's see, their meeting is always the second Monday, so it wouldn't be second Monday in February. But the EDA, which is the first, we'll take a look at it, they meet next week. So we can hash this out there and just see what's,
so if the bill is co-sponsored per se between the city and the school, basically we're both saying that we'll take 50% responsibility. Does the fund need to come in two $1 million grants, or does it still come as one $2 million
It could come
payment
as
to the
one.
entity? What's that?
It could come as one. Maybe it would come as 1 and 1. And usually, if we start something, like if we ask, can it be phased, and we do part, we do the next part. because, you know, it's something we've started and we like to finish.
Okay,
All right. Megan, thank you.
Thank you.
all right, all right, all right.
Hey, well, Megan, do you know, has Deb started on the newspaper stuff?
I believe that she has, so we're gonna meet later this week, and so I know she's gonna reach out to them as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, we'll see you later.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
You want to adjourn us?
We're not an official.
Oh,
We're
we're
not real official.
Oh.
We're a committee.
I moved to
We're a committee, not a.
All right.
Well,
I
saw
second
it
it.
on here and I'm like,
It's been
okay,
moved
you
and
got some
seconded.
action.
We're
Okay,
not
let's
even
go.
voting. I know. I try to have some.
Goodbye,
sort of
everybody.
direction of what we're doing.
Gotcha.
Is there ways to
I have thought about it. One day. I was like, God, you know,